Hello there, it's Crafting Bunny again, and I've just popped on to show you another card using the Zinnia stamp set. Haven't quite fallen in love with it, but it's getting close. This card is going to be more for not for a beginner, I would say. There's a lot of elements to this card, and it could get a bit confusing for a beginner, so I would say it's somebody who is intermediate. So we're going to start off with the card base. So I've done a lot of the prep for this card in advance because I felt it was going to be easier to do that than to just keep getting my trimmer out all the time. So this card base is basic white. It is 20 centimeters, 0.3 across the top on the long edge, and on the short edge it's 14 centimeters. Now when you come to do this, once you've done it, there's some scoring to do on this one. There's several bits of scoring to do on this one. So what I advise is do the scoring from the left, and the first score is at 4.1, the second score is at 4.7, then move to the middle, which is 9.5, followed by 10.8. Once you've done that, I would strongly advise taking the card out, turn it around and do the 4.1 and the 4.7 from the left edge again. And I found that was the easiest way to deal with it, this card. So that's one element of this card. The next element is cutting the DSP. Now, if I get the card out, you can see these two pieces of DSP are from the coordinating DSP that comes with for the Zinnias, and it's the big panel that's then got the blank space in the middle. So and I've cut it out from the left hand side. So the two pieces of cardstock are going to go on the ends, and these two pieces of DSP, sorry, not cardstock, they're 3.5 wide and 13 centimeters long. Now all the DSP will be 13 centimeters long, but it would just be the width that is different. So I'm going to stick those two panels on now. Now I've tried to make sure that they're lined up as best as I possibly can, so it's not easy to line things up, and they're going to be away from each other, so they're not going to sit on top of each other, so it doesn't really matter. But if you can try and line them up as best as possible, then you'll get the flow with when it comes to the images. So a bit of glue, and I'm going to stick those two panels straight onto the card. They don't go right up to the edge, but be very careful when you are putting them on that you don't go over the score line. That's important. Okay, and obviously making sure that they're straight is also important. So this panel is going to go on the other end, and again making sure that you don't go over the score line is very important, and obviously making sure that they are straight as well. Okay, so those panels, just to recap, they were 3.5 centimeters wide. Let's put it in the middle so you can see it better. 3.5 centimeters wide by 13 centimeters long. The next DSP isn't the reverse of that, it's another sheet of the DSP in the cards in the pack. So there are two panels that's going to go in the middle. Now again, I've tried to make sure that they line up as much as I can, and these two are 13 centimeters by 4. So the 4 is across the width, 13 is the length. So again, I'm going to glue those in place as we're speaking. And I'm going to try and line that up level with the other one, but again, don't go over the score lines. Now I find that sometimes if you take your ruler and put your ruler against the first one, it should make it easier to see where you've got to go. And when it's still dry, you can push up, so you then know that those are in the same place. That's just a quick tip. And then this piece is going to go on the other side. Okay, so again, making sure your ruler's at the top and pushing up against the ruler. You shouldn't then need to worry about the bottom because it should already be the same. So then we have 4 of the panels on. The middle panel is still the 13 centimetres, but it's only 1 centimetre wide, so it's quite small. I'm just going to pop those down there so you can see them. Okay, so this piece is going to go in the middle panel. Now you'll see that I've managed to cut it so it lines up with the leaves and it lines up with the flowers. But again, I shall push it down and make it level with the top. The bottom then will be okay. So a little bit of glue on that one. And then slide it in place. And again, making sure you do not go over those creases. So those panels are now in place, and I'm going to demonstrate to you now those creases. It just made sense to have the panels on there rather than have them floating around. And again, you can always rewind if you didn't catch those measurements. So when it comes to the folding of this card, you start with the middle. Now these 2 middles are what we call mounting folds. So if you fold it down and get your boning tool and just emphasize that crease. These are both mounting folds. So I'm going to emphasize that crease. Okay, so those 2 are going to sit like that. These 4 creases are valley folds. So once you've got the mounting folders in, you can actually just bend that in place. I think I've played with this quite a bit, so it will fold quite easily for me. And you'll end up with a box shape here. But they are both valley folds. And again, you'll end up with a box shape as well. So you should be able to fold that one forward to close it like that. Okay. And you see it makes the letter, if you look at it that way up, it makes the letter W. If you turn it over, obviously, you've got the letter M. Okay. So those are those 2 folds, that bit's done. I'm going to put that to one side because I want to move on to the front pieces. So for the front, you have got 2 panels which I've already pre-embossed, and I use the Zinnia embossing folder for this one. And both these panels, and I would say to you, cut the cardstock first before you try and do the embossing, because if you try and cut this afterwards, you could end up tearing. So I would cut it first and then pop it into the embossing folder, and then you can emboss it. So these panels are 3.5 centimetres in width and 11 centimetres in length. And then the other pieces that you need for the front of this panel, this card, you need a piece of berry burst, and I've used the dies from the scalloped edges, the contour dies, and the one I've used is the second one in from the smallest, so it's not the smallest, it's the next one up, and I've just cut that out on the die cutter using berry burst. I've then taken a piece of white cardstock, and that white cardstock is 5 centimeters in width by 8 centimeters 0.3 in length. So that's 5 centimeters wide, 8.3 in length. And that will sit inside the berry burst panel like that. So I'm going to glue those two pieces together. It certainly makes lots of easy work if I've pre-done them. You don't have to sit there watching me cut things and mess around. So you just get to see the end result. So it's very important, obviously, to make sure you're using the right side, because there's a good side and a bad side on this, and I nearly put it on the bad side. There's a little dot of line going around the edges, and obviously one side is smooth and one side is rough. So nearly had a bit of a disaster there, but we recovered that very quickly. You will see the speed of light, but just making sure that you can still see the dots and that it doesn't stick to the underneath piece of paper. So I've just stuck those two together. Okay, so these two panels are going to go on the inside, are going in like that. So the card will go up like that, and that's the bit you can see on the inside. So that's the effect. So these two white panels are going to go on each side. So I'm just going to go and glue these ones in place. So I'll turn it over to make it easier for myself. And again, you may need more glue than you would do normally, because with the embossing on there, it's not easy to get in the grooves. So I'm putting that on there, making sure again I don't go on the folds. That's one side, and then this one is going to go on that side. And again, if you want to use your ruler, just to make sure that they're at the same height before you actually press them down firmly, that's always a good idea. Okay, so those two panels will go in like so. So this panel is going to go over the front, so they tuck behind. So you just need a bit of, and I'm going to use dimensionals for this bit, because I want that to come up. So I'm going to sit that on there, because I don't want them completely flat, because it won't be easy to get to tuck behind. So you can just either use your line of sight, however it works for you. And I'm going to stick these onto the panel. So tweezers. Now make sure when you are putting them on that you get that edge of that hexagon lined up, because otherwise you'll end up seeing them. And I'm going to use 3, so I'm making sure that my hexagons sides, the two straight sides, line up. it's fighting back. There we go. And then that panel will go on the front, so that those two will then tuck behind, and that holds it in place. Okay, so there we are with those ones. So it looks a bit plain at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decorate this using the dies in the set. So I've decided that I'm going to use the dies, the flower dies in this set. So there are two different sorts of flower dies. So that one's quite thin, this one's quite fat. So what I've done is I've cut that one in the Berry Burst and that one in Bubble Bath as a contrast. And then that one goes on top of this one, and you'll see that when you line them up between the gaps, they fit quite nicely between the gaps. So let's stick those two in place as well, and just a big blob of glue is all I'm using, and just line them up. Just moving them ever so slightly so you get the effect. You just might need to play with it a bit until you're happy with where they go, and just don't push them down straight away. I mean, obviously playing them with them beforehand, that's a better fit. So I'm going to go by saying that lining up that one, which is the slightly different shape, works better, and then I can just, before it sets completely, I can just move it around slightly, hopefully, she says. Okay, that should be fine. And then what I've done, so that was Berry Burst and Bubble Bath to do that, and then there's another die in the set which is the centre, which is this piece, and I've cut mine out in Lemon Lolly. So I'm going to put that piece on the top. Now this is more difficult to glue because obviously there's no centre, so I turned it over and I'm just putting a spot of glue on each of the bigger pieces. Obviously try not to put too much glue on there, but enough to make it stay where I want it to go. It's almost every other one. And then if I take my tweezers again, I can use those to put it into place. And then I've taken the final piece in the die set to make up the flowers. It's the main piece, the centre piece, and I've done that in black. The beauty of this is that you don't have to stick to the normal colours. So that piece is going to go, and I'm very fortunate because there's a solid piece right in the middle, so that's where I'm going to apply my glue. There's one that's not got anything cut on it, and I'm going to again take my tweezers because my hand gets a bit shaky, and then I'm going to pop that on there. And then to finish it off, I've taken a couple of the leaves that were in the dies, this leaf, and I've got two of those. So before I glue them in place, I'm just going to work out the best place for them. I think I'm going to stick them onto the flower as opposed to the card, but I just want to bring the card back in again and just work out where the best positioning is. Oh, that's not good. There we go. So I think I'm going to have one going up that way and one in the opposite corner. It's entirely up to you. I mean, everybody likes things in different ways, don't they? So, you know, what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another. But I think if I put one and one like that, as opposed to two together, I'm not quite sure if I like two together or one and one. I've still got my sentiment to go on there yet, so actually I quite like that. So I think I'm going to put the glue on these ones, and I think I will use, and again there's some edges that I can put the glue on. So I'm going to put one there. And again, because it's embossed, you've got to persuade it to lie flat. And then I'm going to put the other one on top of it, I think, like so. So that one's going to go on top of it. And I'll persuade it to stay there. And then I think I'm going to switch to using dimensionals again, if I can find them. And just put a dimensional, or three. Probably one should be enough. And then I can put my flower on there. And as I said before, don't get glue on the paper. So that's what it looks like when you've got it open. And then if you fold it up like that and then close it. So now all that I need to do is to find a sentiment that I can go on, that can go on there. And the sentiments that that are in the pack are quite nice, but I think I'm going to find a birthday one because I do like a birthday card. So I've got some other sentiments here that I can use, and if I use the Berry Burst, that will keep it in. Where's Berry Burst gone? Oh, maybe. Oh, yeah, there he is. Oh. So I'm going to choose the Happy Birthday sentiment. This is my go-to one, hence the reason why it looks so messy. A scrap of white. Close the lid before it ends up on me. It's not a very good idea. And now I need to cut that out. So I'm actually going to just trim it down, I think, rather than use a die cutter. So I'm going to take it. And now I think I'm going to use my snips and just cut round it and just close that up again. Okay, so I'm going to go around the letters. Not right up to them, just leaving a little bit of an edge. Don't always like to see a straight line. and just a little bit off there. So I think that can go on a couple of dimensionals, I think, as well. So I'll put a big one on there, and then I've got some small ones, which I think it needs some smaller ones. Oh, I've got packs. Yes, I have. Right. And I'm just going to pop a small one on that piece there. Choo it out of the way. There we go. And I think the only other thing I need to use is some bling. So what happened to my gems? That's the next question. Gems. Oh, I've put them in there. Yes, I've put them in there. Okay. Right. So these are the coordinating gems, and yeah, they're very shiny. I like loving those, but I think the pinky coloured ones would be going. These are the adhesive backed shiny sequence, and again they're part of the bundle that you get with the Zinnias. So just carefully pull those out. I always have problems with them sometimes shooting across the room. So I think I think I'm going to go one of those. Maybe decisions, maybe there. Yeah. Okay, so you've still got the back to put your message on if you want to. Oh, this is how I caught that. But that basically is how you do that card. So hopefully I'll see you all again. Got another card planned, but I'm not sure when I'll get the video up. So just keep an eye out, and don't forget, subscribe, and then you'll get the notifications when I've put something fresh up. So that's me done for now, so I will see you again soon. And just to recap, that was Simply Zinnias. Take care everyone, bye!